Okay. So I will talk about today about the CABI first, which already explained. But I will talk about CABI and also the overview and impacts of invasive plants, and then also talk about biocontrol, which is the main topic today, and also the big success example in the worldwide. And then finally, I will introduce some of the UK biocontrol projects. So CABI is an international nonprofit organization that improves people's lives by providing information and applying scientific expertise to solve problems in agriculture and the environment. So this is CABI is established by the United Nations Treaty Level Agreement in 1910. And firstly established as Commonwealth Agricultural Bureau International, but now simply CABI. So we have 48 member countries which have an equal role in the organization's governance, policies, and strategic directions. So basically, we work for the member countries, but also work for the UK government and UK and also other countries. And our work, especially for the member countries, are basically directed by the member countries, what we should do for them or not. Also, we have more than 450 staff across more than 25 locations in the worldwide. And we are currently working on global concerns such as food security and food safety through research and international development cooperation. And CABI is also the major publisher of scientific information, such as books, ebooks, digital learning, and compendia, and online information resources. So here's our member countries, and we have 48 member countries, including the most of them are developing countries. So we have various global stations and offices, and the head office is in the Wallingford in the UK. And I'm based in EGM, which is a scientific station. And we have another scientific station in Switzerland, in Europe. So we also run the website of invasive species compendium, including the invasive plants and animals such as pathogens and insects and pests. And we have more than 2,000 data sheets and also the biographic database of nearly 75K records. And also link the more than 1,000 full text documents and links into each of the species. And also, this is the open access model, so everyone can access and have a look at the information. So if you're interested, please visit this website. So this is our team, invasive species management team located in Egem, Surrey, close to Heathrow. We have 15 members, 13 members as scientists and technician, and 2 associates. We have 5 entomologists, 4 plant pathogenists, including the molecular pathology, and 1 socioeconomist, an entomologist, and 1 greenhouse support. So we have invasive species teams in UK as well as Switzerland. And for the UK, we work on the pathogens and the insects. But for the Switzerland, they normally work for the insects. We have 2 different licensed quarantine facilities, so we can import any pests. Well, not any, but we can import the insects or mites and pathogens from abroad to test in the quarantine facilities. We have summer students, interns, also supervised master student and PhD. We are focusing on the weed and insect biocontrol and some augmentative biocontrol, which I will explain a little bit later. And pest risk assessments, prioritization and horizon scanning, and socio-economic impacts of invasive species. Excuse me. And we are also closely work with Apple to support to develop policies and guidelines. And we are currently working on the 20 with targets for different regions, mainly for the UK, including the overseas territories, and also the continent in Europe, Australia, New Zealand, North and South America, and Africa, and Southeast Asia. So there are many terms used for invasive weeds, also referred to as a non-native, exotic, alien weed species. But whatever you call them, the impacts are undeniable. Huge economic costs are associated with invasive species as a whole. Because the plants contribute substantially to the global problem of biological invasions, and this is normally introduced deliberately or accidentally into the new environments. Then shows negative impacts such as economy or livelihoods and biodiversity. Particularly in the developing countries, suffer most direct loss of crops and livestock, or even impact on the health. So this is happened because of the increasing the globalization, trade and tourism, and also the climate change as well. The main factor why the invasive plants is obvious is that they arrive in the native new range without any natural enemies, including like insects, mice, and fungi. These insects and fungi are normally observed in the native range, which can have like a good relationship between the weed or plants and the organism each other. But in the new range, there's no predators, which means that they can outcompete their new neighbors, which is an unfair advantage. So in the UK, in the British economies, it costs about 1.7 billion pounds per year to manage the invasive non-native species. The current control options in Europe are largely limited to manual and chemical control, which is high cost, short-term ineffectiveness, and with regard to chemical control, declining in public accessibility. So the term of the biological control is the use of natural enemies to provide environmentally sound pest weed control, thereby reducing the needs for chemicals. So there's two main approaches, which is one is a classical biological control, and one is inundative or microherbicide control. So classical biological control is to utilize of the co-evolved natural enemies from the center of origin of the pests to provide self-sustaining control after a single release. The other one is that the mass production and periodic release of large numbers of biological control agents to control pests. So it is pretty much like the chemical herbicide. So we have to apply twice or 3 times a year to control the pests. So I'm mainly talk about classical biological control today. This approach has been implemented across the globe for over 100 years, and most active countries are South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, and the USA. So there are lots of insects and disease in the native range, but some of them can be released safely as a classical biological control agents because of this co-evolved and highly specific to the host. So globally, classical biological control is widely successfully used to manage many invasive alien species. And important thing is that the classical biological control aims to redress the ecological imbalance caused by the invasive alien plant species. So, but not all the weed can be applied as a classical biological control methodology. We have to do the feasibility. And the ideal target weed is an aggressive introduced weed which infests large areas such as rangeland, pastures, waste areas, water bodies, or buried ecosystem which are inaccessible. So we normally do the we do rank the feasibility in terms of the effect factor, how easy to implement, what are the costs, and how much impact will it have. Excuse me. So there's many spectral success with benefit cost ratio ranging from 2.5 to over 3,000. There's an international code of conduct in order to release the classical biological control agent. Most important thing is to check the safety testing and host specificity test. So we basically do the check all the non-target plant species closely related to the target plant species. It's depending on the target host, but normally like 50 to 70, 80, or 90 plant species in the quarantine facility to check any damage. And also, we also need to check the life cycle or biology or disease cycle of the target, the agents as well. Recently, it is also important about to check the biotype matching between the target and weed agent. And there are very few non-target effects because probably everyone wants to understand is it safe or not. So it is already reported some of the non-target effects, but these are all predictable based on the host specificity testing. And sometimes these are transitory or spillover, so it's not cause significant economic losses. Because it's predictable, so this is a government decision whether the agent is released or not. So they considered because based on the economic impact, that's why they decide to release the agent into the embedded area. So this is for the biological control agent is for the public goods. So benefits reaped by many stakeholders. So it's relied on the exchange of natural enemies between countries. So so it is not non-commercial activity, so funded by the government normally. To date, more than 2,000 biocontrol programs against more than 260 weed species with more than 600 agents researched. So this is the photos for the impatiens grandiflora Himalayan balsam in the native range on the top left. Photos is not a lot big population, but on the bottom, which is the photos taken in the UK, is massive become a massive populations. So this is the theoretical process of the classical biological control. The graph shows the population size of the weed over time, and the green line represents the ecological threshold above which the weed has a high ecological impact. So these fluctuations represent the seasonal growth of the weed. So we can see that once the biological control agent has been introduced, the weed population size decreases and eventually falls below the ecological threshold, where it remains in balance with the biological control agent. So regarding the timeline of the biological control program, it takes time, more than 12 or 15 years. The first 3 years, we normally do the literature search and identify the service areas. Sometimes the molecular techniques can help to identify survey area because some target plants has a broad native range. So we have to find where to survey to collect the natural enemies. Also, we need to analyze the prospects and feasibility for biological control, of course, and also prioritize a selected number of potential biological control agents. Then, after 3 years, we do establish the test plant species, also referred by the specialist. Once we did the survey in the native range, we collected lots of natural enemies and then and also prioritize. Then after that, we do the host range testing and also impact of the prioritized agents. Then finally, we decide which of the prioritized agent is suitable for weed release. Then after that, we will prepare the submit the petition for field release to the government or any authorities in collaboration with the partners, and then got the permission for the release of the agent after the assessment of the specialist in detail based on our scientific data. Then once we got the permission, we will rear the colony of the agent to release, then monitor the biological control, sometimes help with collaborators or partners. So it takes time. It's not a quick methodology to control the invasive weed. So I will introduce two big success classical biological control program. One is using the insects. So this is the classical biological control program of Salvinia in Australia. And the weevils, Christobagus, is the biological control agent. And this Salvinia free-floating fern is considered to be one of the world's worst aquatic weeds introduced from Brazil. It causes dense mats affecting biodiversity. So infestation can double their size in 8 days or less. So the biological control agent, the weevils, were released on Lake Mondara in Queensland in Australia in 1980. This is a spectacular success. In 14 months later, become open water of the 200 hectares. So this is quite big success using the insect as a classical biological control agents. The other big success using this is the biological control agent is the fungal pathogens. So Cristigia grandiflora is a rubber vine introduced to Australia from Madagascar in 19th century as an ornamental garden plant as a source of latex. So this photo shows a native forest in the Queensland in Australia before the rubber vine invaded. Then this is the after the invasion by the rubber vine. So this is the aggressive climber capable of smoothing trees up to 40 meters high. So it was described as a single biggest threat to natural ecosystems in tropical Australia and had a huge impact on pastoral areas. So by the late 1980s, this covered 40K square kilometers, which is significantly bigger than the Belgium or twice the size of the Wales. So chemical, like wide-scale chemical control was considered impractical, economic, and environmental undesirable. So we try to do the biological control. So we did a survey in the native range in Madagascar and found the rubber vine rust, Maravaria rustigia. And we did host genetic testing over 75 test plant species and shows host specific to the rubber vine. So Austrian authorities decided to introduce this rubber vine from, the rust from Madagascar in 1994 and then released. And the rubber vine population declined by 50 to 98% at the majority of release sites and negligible seedling recruitment, which is great impact by the rust in Australia. And the cost-benefit ratio was 109 in within a few years. So this is another example of the most successful classical biological control agents, the project in Australia. So regarding in the UK or Europe of the weed biological control, we have already sourced more than 400 agents into the abroad, but to use the weed biological control methodology in Europe, we are slow to use biological control, probably because of smaller scale invasions of public perception, awareness, funding, and regulatory processes. So to date, 5 agents approved for the intentional release as a classical biological control in Europe, mainly 4 in the UK. One is for Sellets against Japanese knotweed in 2010. And the next one is rust pathogen against Himalayan balsam, and mites against Australian swamp stonecrop. And recently in 2021, weevil were released into the floating pennywort as a classical biological control agents. And another one example is in Portugal. So we are gradually starting to release the classical biological control agents in Europe. So it's important to choose the right targets and engaging with the public throughout, because as I said, the feasibility test is quite important. It's not all the weed is not applicable for the other classical biological control. So now regulatory pathway becoming more streamlined and fit for purpose. And the DEFRA revised the environmental improvement plan in 2023 last year. And in the Great Britain invasive non-native species strategies that clearly described to continue to support the development and rollout of biocontrol and other novel control methods to improve the long-term management of the widespread in non-native species, so invasive non-native species. So particularly like the plants, non-native species from the water environment. So clearly describe about the example of the weevils to tackle the floating pennywort. So DEFRA is quite supportive about to the biological control program. So here's the history of the Great Britain biocontrol initiatives. So DEFRA started funding to work on biocontrol of knotweed, balsam, swamp stonecrop, and floating pennywort since 2011 in partnership with Welsh Government and Natural England. We also have the support from Environment Agency, Canal River Trust, and private water companies, and many groups and trusts and local authorities, as well as some Canadian and Dutch stakeholders, which is keen to apply the classical biological control in their countries. We also trying to do the feasibility studies, which I mentioned earlier, and workshop with stakeholders undertaken to assess priority of the target plant species and also the potential one, which is now we are also working on the pyrus feeders, ice plant, water primrose, and Canadian nuts shells, waterweed, tree of heaven, butterfly bush, and rhododendron as well. So we also work on overseas territories and projects for non-UK weeds. And I will explain a little bit about the argumentative control methodology, which is the same commotional venture. So about Azola, which you may know about it. So we are currently mass rear and supplying the Azura weevil as a biological control agent to support ongoing control across the country in the UK. So this is Azora, which is mainly has a problem in the ponds and lake as well. So it's native to subtropical and temperate Americas and introduced into the UK in 19th century as an ornamental plant. This Azola forms a dense mats colonization via vegetative propagations. So we also the Azora also produce a spore later in the season to spread the Azora. So in South Africa, they have the successful biocontrol using the weevils released in 1997. In South Africa, it's no longer problem about Azora in that country anymore. In Britain, weevil first identified in 1921 became naturalized and widespread. So DEFRA confirmed that this is considered as an ordinary resident. So it's a little bit, it's not the classical biological control, but we are mass rearing the weevils in our facility outside in greenhouse in early season and ships to any customers who want to control the Azola. Then they release our supplied the weevils. It's quite highly effective agent. So this is short photos I will show you. So this is taken in 2008 before the weevil introduced into these ponds. 1 month later, become brown. Azola become really brown. Finally, 1 month later again, so it's all clearly nothing Azola anymore. So it's really good agent to control the Azola. So this is very good successful biological control agent in the UK. I'm still ongoing. So we have a lot of orders from customers to supply the weevils every year. So my colleague published a paper about the economic value of the weevils to the UK, Britain. So just a summary. But the Azora would cost quite a lot to manage annually without any weevils. But some of the sites has a natural weevil population. It costs reduced to 0.8 to 1.6 million pounds. But if you introduce the weevils into the respective ponds or any other lakes as an argumentative program, it costs reduced to 31.5 to 45.8 thousand pounds. It's quite massive reduction. So this argumentative program saves quite a lot. So the benefit and cost ratio is range of 44 to 88 in one. So this is why I said this is one of the good biocontrol program shown in the UK. Okay, so I will introduce some of the 4 UK biocontrol program today. So first of all, probably everyone knows about the Japanese knotweed, which is native to East Asia and introduced from Japan into the UK in mid-19th century. Japanese knotweed is listed as one of the 100 world's worst invasive alien species. So knotweed caused a quite big problem and reduced biodiversity, and of course it's a big problem for the land owners, like to reduce the, the land price as well. So we did this program is started since 2000, and we did the survey in the native range in Japan to collect natural enemies. So we collected about 180 arthropods and 5 plant pathogens from Japan. Then we did the host strain testing, and finally we selected Alpha-Ray Itadori, the Celids, as a classical control agents. So then because it's quite host specific and impacts in the laboratory studies. In 2010, this is approved by DEFRA as a classical control agent and released into the wild. Then since 2015, we start to release the Celids in around the riparian sites. But it's one of the key to establish is the overwintered. So, however, the Celids overwinters very low numbers, so it's quite challenging to establish. And then we know that the climate is more key to a Celids establishment, because we try to collect the Celids from the Japanese knotweed, which is the same biotype in the UK previously. But now we know that the climate is more important to establish. So in 2019, we did another survey in Japan to collect another new Celids strain, which called Murakami Celids strain, from the climate match area between Japan and the UK. And also, bonus one is that this Celids cause the coloring damage, which the previous strain has not show anything at all. So this is quite good, because to help to survive the Celids inside the coloring damage, because keep the humid inside the raw leaf as well as the humidity. And then, based on the host specificity testing, Murakami series preferred Bohemian knotweed over Japanese knotweed. So we released the Murakami series granted by DEFRA granted by DEFRA at the Japanese knotweed and Bohemian knotweed sites near Kabi, just a trial stage. Then we found that the coloring damage was found at the both release sites, but same as the laboratory studies, and severe damage was found in the Bohemian knotweed populations. So the photos on the left-hand side this is damage, coloring damage caused by the Celids. So this is the physical damage we have already proved by the experimental studies, and last year was a good result to date. So really heavily damaged found in the field at the Bohemian knotweed population. We also found the overwintered Celids in the spring 2023, and this year we also trying to release the new Bohemian knotweed sites. And so if you know any other good sites, please let me know. Then I will assess whether it is suitable sites to release the Celids. If I can get the permission from landowners or DEFRA as well. We also trying to find the Celids causing coloring damage, but also prefers Japanese knotweed over Bohemian knotweed in the native range. Collaboration with the scientists in Japan. So in parallel, we also work on the plant pathogens against the Japanese knotweed. Excuse me. So these pathogens are firstly considered as a classical biological control agent, but based on the host range testing, we can't use as a classical biological control agent due to the potential non-target impact. However, this lead spot has a unique biology, which involves two mating types of the isolates to be able to show the infection. So if we use either mating type, then this will be no risk to establishment and spread. So we do the proof of concept research to evaluate the agent as a potential mycoherbicide. This idea is already protected by the European patent held in the native name of the Secretary of State DEFRA. And we did some field tests in EGM site outside. And in 2019, we had approval by DEFRA to release the agent from quarantine and did the field experiment for 3 years, showing that the pathogen can infect under the field condition in the UK. However, because we are a non-profit organization, we don't have knowledge to develop the agent as a mycoherbicide. We need to do more research and also need to have the collaboration with the private sector. Another one is the Himalayan balsam, which is native to foothills of Himalayas. It is first introduced into the UK in early 19th century. It forms monocultures with negative impacts on whole ecosystem in the UK. So the rust, Paxinia, Komaroviae are approved for the release across England and Wales in 2014 as the first classical biological control agent of plant pathogens in Europe. Then, released in England, Wales, Scotland at the moment. This is highly specific in host range testing with 74 plant species with 10 varieties of popular ornamental and horticulture species. To date, 2 strains of the rust are imported from India and Pakistan. This is because there are presence of the different person biotypes. Some population not susceptible to either of the 2 strains. So before the release, we always need to do the pre-release testing to determine the susceptibility. The molecular analysis also pinpointed the key regions for the additional surveys to collect the rust, because as I said, not all the populations infected. So we do need to have additional strains to cause a damage on the non-susceptible population in the UK. We have a new strains collected from Pakistan again, from the different regions, and we are currently working in the quarantine as well. The rust has been released at more than 100 sites, and we are still ongoing in this year, depending on the susceptibility test currently running at the moment. And release normally do with the help of the local action groups and landowners. Who is quite helpful. And also we developed an app to monitor by them, which means we don't have to go there to monitor, which can reduce the cost of this program. And also establish the collaboration with the local action groups and landowners. We already found the establishment of the rust and overwintering and natural spread more than 100 meters at several sites. And so we think the rust shows adaptation to the UK field conditions However, it may take 5 to 10 years to see the impact of the rust in the long term. From now, this I'll talk about the aquatic weed. One of them is Crassula Australian swamp stonecrop. This is semi-aquatic plant native to Australia and New Zealand, and the UK biotypes are likely to be from Australia. This is introduced into the UK in 1911 as an ornamental plant. This is quite difficult to control due to the proximity to water and regrowth from fragments, and easy to grow in slow-moving water bodies, can develop as a matting. So the mites, golden forming mite, introduced from Australia, was approved for the release in the wild in 2018. This mite also shows highly host specific and also to reduce the growth of the cluster. So now mites are released at multiple sites across England and Wales. So this mite shows the pink goals. So you can see this one is the healthy plants like green and white flower. Then when we introduce the mites, the flower can develop as like a pink color. This is the sign of the mites damage to the cluster. So in 2022, we found the overwintering cluster at the 5 out of 8 release sites, and also good spread, like more than 30 meters, and also the colonizing the new cluster plants within the sites, which is great. But some of them are not good sites because of the extreme high temperatures in 2022. In 2023 is not a good year, probably because the combined effect of the drought and heat wave in 2022, as well as the cold winter and spring. So actually, the success or not is actually depending on the environmental condition and climate condition as well. Because the mites doesn't like the flooding, so it's quite important to identify the suitable sites in order to establish the self-sustaining and robust mite populations. So mites also killed by the late frost, which is another factor. So it's quite difficult, sometimes difficult which population is suitable for the mites release or not. So the most suitable sites where emerging plants are available for mites all year round, then the mites can spread onto the healthy Crassula plants. But now we also are exploring another option to find the additional natural enemies in the native range in the New Zealand, which could complement the mites. So lastly, this is the floating pennywort. Hydrocutty is recently released weevils as a classical biological control in 2021. This is the Surrey site, which covered by Hydrocutty. This is native to South America and introduced into in the 1980s and found naturalized in the early 1990s. So the floating pennywort forms a dense mat across the water bodies, impacting native ecosystems and the recreational use of waterways. So it costs more than 25 million annually to manage this weed. So the weevils introduced from Argentina were approved as a classical biological control in England in 2021 because this is quite high host specificity. in 2022 and 2023, we released widespread release in England at 19 sites. And we are currently doing the monitoring of the weeds survival, development, spread impact, as well as examination of non-target plants, because we know that host specificity in the laboratory condition, which is a suitable condition for the weevils. So we know that this is safe, but obviously the field condition is different compared to the laboratory conditions. So we also check the non-target effect. Currently, no effect at all against the non-target plants. So we also confirmed the overwintering weevils found in southern Midland in 2023. So high weevils numbers lead to the collapsing mat, stunted growth, and poor winter survival of 14 pennywort. So one of the sites had a great impact and spread more than 150 meters in southern sites. So as you can see on the left bottom, this is weevil damage site. So it's quite good damage. So we will continue the monitoring this year, as well as another release into the new sites. Again, same as the cluster, site selection is quite important because sometimes mat is moved through high flows, also the accidental removals as well. So all the programs is quite important to collaborate with the local groups to help to source the material as well as the monitoring and also the site selection and prioritization. So in the 14 pennywort, we have collaborated with local groups and Angling Trust, British Canoeing, an environmental agency, and field managers. And now we're also trying to spread the biocontrol program into the Netherlands. And we are currently doing a feasible biocontrol test for the Dutch. And then Dutch Water Board funding research and the petition to the release if all goes well. That's happened for all the program. And for the Japanese knotweed, for example, the series has been already released into the Netherlands, as well as Canada and the US to see and currently we are monitoring the impact for respective countries. So this is a summary. So classical value control can provide a long-term safe solutions, but it's not the quick fix and also not the straightforward methodology to control the invasive weed. This is the biocontrol program we are currently doing is a research. So it's no commitment to release. Whether we can release or not is based on the DIFRA or any authorities' decisions based on the scientific data. And collaborations are key, both in countries of the origin of the weed and the invaded range, as well as any local action groups or any other authorities in terms of the release and the monitoring. And we also have a lot of effective off-the-shelf agents for the common targets, but we are waiting for the opportunity for technology transfer. And we do check all the tests, so we do lots of research for these effective agents. So if this is quite cheaper option if we can use this, but at the moment we can't use due to a lot of reasons. So doing nothing is not a zero risk strategy. So important thing is that the raise awareness of the biological control as a complementary and sustainable strategy to conventional management. Also, the raising awareness of the invasive non-native species to the public, and communicating the risks and benefits is more important, then can help build support and maintain momentum as well. So if you have a look at our research, please visit the invasive species org, United Kingdom. Yeah, thank you very much for attention.
Thank you, Daisuke, for a very inspiring talk. I'm very much looking forward to the day when I don't go Himalayan balsam bashing in the summer. I'd work with some of our local conservation groups and being given something to cut down the balsam and wearing waders and wandering through streams has been a pastime for quite a lot of years now. So hopefully that will be a thing of the past in due course, thanks to the work that you're doing. So we've got a few questions coming in. One actually aligns a little bit with one that I was going to ask you anyway. And my question was, are there any emerging non-native species? And then the questioner also says, there are quite a few potential invasive non-native species that are not currently on UK lists for invasive species, and uses the examples of Crocosmia and some Cotoneaster species. Are you monitoring some of these things? And what are the criteria that are used for them being considered as high impact invasives?
Okay. We have like a meeting with the DEFRA stakeholders to discuss what's the next target with, but based on the list. But yeah, so we do a lot of feasibility tests to prioritize, but I'm not sure these three species are considered, well, do the feasibility test. I'm not sure because my colleague did. So yeah, and also I'm not sure about what criteria for the high impact invasiveness. So I'm happy to ask my colleague to check and reply if you want to.
Thank you. I did something very similar in assessing what potential invasive species might be in conjunction with some of the UK overseas territories. And I was brought in as a sort of expert for the notion of the Falklands and South Georgia and the Antarctic, wearing another of my hats, which was with British Antarctic Survey. And we sort of went through the list of potential things, looking at the potential non-native invasives, and made a long list, which then gets fed through to the government agencies for putting on the watch list. And I'm sure something very similar would happen in the UK. So another question, I'm not sure whether this is one that you can answer. I'm not sure that I can answer it either. Has anyone checked whether any UK non-native invasive species could be good as a bioenergy source? Is the destructive mechanism one that you set fire to them in a power station?
I'm not sure the other bioenergy source.
I think Buddleia could certainly be burnt because on a few of our local wildlife sites, we have large bonfires of it. But whether you can harvest it in a sustainable way for a biofuel, I think is another matter. And one thing I do know is that Buddleia, for example, has a habit of getting away from its place where it's growing and spreads very rapidly.
It's not the bioenergy source, but like Japanese knotweed, for example, in the native range in Japan, some of the sites are sold in the supermarket to eat the young shoots.
Oh,
So that's another like a food source. It's not all the countries, but some of the specific area in Japan can buy the knotweed in early spring because the shoot is quite soft. So because we have like a cultures to eat the young bamboos or from the worldwide. So
mhm.
that's another way. If I don't know, I'm not sure the British people like the knotweed. That in terms of like a taste things, that's another issue. But yeah, it's worth trying if everyone interested.
That's a fascinating suggestion. I'll certainly propagate that one because I go nibbling a few growing shoots in the spring, things like chickweed and hawthorn. Um, but I think wild foraging is not widely established in the UK yet. But
Hmm.
maybe if people know they can eat the growing tips of knotweed just as they do asparagus in this country.
Well, probably yeah, we have to um, heat and probably make some like a nice vegetables like asparagus. Yes.
Yeah,
But be careful not to eat fresh one without any heating. I think there's some acid inside, so we should not eat a lot, I think.
right. Okay. That's really interesting. Um, so there's a few questions come up in the chat as well. So it's very good to see caution about infecting other species, but how is safety of all natives, not just economic species, absolutely guaranteed? Is there any checking for this once the pathogen is introduced into the wild?
So we are normally checking the plants target plant species closely related one. So like for example, in the knotweed, we also check all the Foropia species in the UK and in Europe, but also we also do the Polygonaceae families as well. So that's normally the pest or the agents can potentially attack. So we normally check like that kind of closely related plant species because obviously it's impossible to check all the plant species, but also because even in genetically far, we have to check the economical important species or sometimes plant species which is similar to the chemical nutrient things as well. So we did some like a broad test as well, recommended by the specialists.
Yeah,
So,
that that that's understandable. So another one from Lindsay who says, will range changes due to climate change impact on what we view as an invasive species, i.e. where the new range is perhaps adjacent to an original range?
well, because the climate change quite affects, so like become like a become warm now. So like for example, 20 years old ago, the plants can't establish in that introduced range, but because of climate change, then now the invasive plant species can establish in the warmer area. So that's the impact of the climate change. So yeah, so it is. I personally think it's has high option. Well, there's a lot of probably it's caused a lot of the invasive problem in any other countries because of the climate change because it become warmer and warmer, and also the like international tourism trades is more obvious now. So like 10 years or 20, because probably many plants are still already arrive in the new range, but it's not the problem at the moment. But some factors like climate or something happen, then suddenly develop as a invasive species. So yeah, we have to be very careful about that as well.
Yes, I guess we just hope that as climate change, even though it's dramatically quick compared to geological time,
Mm,
is perhaps slow enough that the pathogens and agents can move at the same rate that the plants are moving,
mm,
and thereby will establish a natural biological control for them.
yeah. Um,
Has any research been done on that sort of aspect?
yeah, we have another team working on climate, but climate change, how impact the invasiveness, but we don't have any expert in our team, so
Right. And then Roy Vickery sends a comment that Japanese knotweed was widely eaten by children in England and Wales
okay.
as wild rhubarb or Sally rhubarb. So it clearly it is something that people have tried, and that's all to the good. I think I had one final question. I can't see anything else in the chat or Q&A, and that is, why do some native species start to become invasive?
So, sorry, could you?
Well, sometimes you have a native species
Yeah.
that used to be fairly stable, and then it suddenly starts spreading everywhere. I think I would use an example, Carex pendula,
Okay.
um, which is taking over many areas in dense
Um,
stands.
Even in a native
It's a
plant.
native plant,
Okay.
but it's behaving as a thug.
Right. Hmm.
So is it a case that perhaps there's a strain that's been imported from a
Well,
different climatological region that is now doing better than our native one?
hmm. Hmm. Well, because it's native, so if you want to, but it's difficult. So it's native one, but become problematic means probably we can find like a biocontrol agent probably, or probably normally any weeds or plants has pests like insects or pathogens. So because it's native, so it's the hurdle is much less than importing the biological control from abroad. So it might was trying to do that as well as if that's obvious, I think.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I guess that if it's just a strain related thing,
Yeah.
then sooner or later, one of our local agents will decide that, oh yeah, this variety is okay.
Mm.
Um, so thank you ever so much indeed for giving that talk. I think it's highly inspirational, and I'm sure the recording will be watched by many people.